This now from Miami, Libertarian presidential candidate, former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, along with his running mate, Libertarian vice presidential candidate, former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld. Guys, thank you so much for being with us. Governor Johnson, we're just looking at the front page of the Washington Post today, and we're just talking in the break about Aetna deciding to pull out of ACA. What would your plan be to provide health care, affordable health care to Americans?
Oh, I think when it comes to affordable health care, you just have to have a free market approach to health care. And let me point out that health care is about as far removed from free market as it possibly could be. We would not have insurance to cover ourselves for ongoing medical need in a free market. We would pay as you go, and I'm going to guess if we paid as we went, that the cost would be about 1/5 of what they are now. We would have insurance to cover ourselves for catastrophic injury and illness. We'd have advertised pricing, we'd have advertised outcomes. But of course, Bill and I are running for president, vice president. We're not running for king or dictator, so you know, it's incumbent on what comes out of Congress. Count on us to sign on to legislation that makes for better health care and lower costs.
Well, Governor Weld, if a single working mom in, let's say, South Boston, through no fault of her own, got fired from her job, how does she afford health care for her children if there's no insurance for ongoing checkups for her 5-year-old son?
Well, I'm with Gary. I favor more competition in the marketplace, health savings accounts, that sort of thing. The reality is, at the end of the day, people don't go without treatment in the United States. They go to the ER, and the cost is socialized. What you want to do is get as many people into the insurance system as possible to drive down the costs. But that woman would receive the necessary care.
Mark Halperin.
Governors, could you name 3 federal departments or agencies that you would eliminate?
Education, the Department of Commerce, and Housing and Urban Development. How's that for starters?
And would any of their functions still be performed by the federal government?
Gosh, you'd have to assume that they were doing something that was of value. And yeah, if they are doing something of value, yes, we would be looking to continue those operations.
Well, I mean, it's easy to say you just eliminate those departments, and then also easy to say, well, the good things would be kept, but those departments all do a lot of stuff. You can't identify any specific things they do?
But you're asking 3 departments, and I'm giving them to you.
Right, but then
let's just take the assumption that they should be eliminated.
Right, but with all due respect, then you're saying, well, if they do good things, we'll keep them.
Well, Joe, I think what we both did in office, Gary in New Mexico and me in Massachusetts, is we zero-based the budget, meaning you assume virtually every account starts the year at 0 unless it justifies itself through performance the prior year. In Washington, as you well know, unless a program grows by 5% every year, they call that a cut. That's not how we balanced our budgets, and we would file a balanced budget in year 1.
Yeah, that was Mark Halperin, by the way. Katty Kay.
Governors, we've heard from Donald Trump this week on his plan for combating ISIS. He's laid out a fairly isolationist plan for the United States in terms of foreign policy. What would your plan be for tackling extremist Islamic terrorism?
Well, we don't want to be isolationist at all. We just want to be non-interventionist. We don't want to involve ourselves in regime change. And let's just recognize that what we're dealing with right now is as a result of these regime changes that we've got ourselves involved with. For starters, get Congress involved in a declaration of war. How do we move forward? ISIS is regionally contained. I like to think of ISIS right now as sands through an hourglass. We're going to make sure that those sands make their way through that hourglass. We'll see ISIS done in.
I think that domestically, for the lone wolves who are copycat murderers, you want to have a specialized task force such as the Justice Department used for organized crime and Enron. That's domestically. Internationally, you have to be prepared to send in a special force if ISIS should become isolated, for example, in South Yemen, and you could, deliver the coup de grace. I think we got to be prepared to do that.
Governors, this is Gene Robinson. To get into the debates, you have to be polling at 15%, and then your task is to, of course, get more and win the election. But what's your strategy for getting to that 15%? Is it a regional strategy? Is it demographic strategy? How are you going to do it?
Gene, I think right now that it's happening. I'm going to give us better than a 50% chance of achieving that, and that's all of what's happening from a social media standpoint. I mean, all the analytics really are off the charts. Right now we're doubling every 3 weeks, and just the last couple of days we raised $2 million online, which for us is unprecedented. I mean, it gives us, really gives us a shot at winning this. Neither of us would be doing this if we didn't think we had the opportunity to actually win the whole thing.
The strategy is to come in between 15 and 20 at the beginning of September, then climb to 25 by the end of September, and then I think we would have a shot. Some of the discussion earlier about Mr. Trump being behind in swing states, it may get to the point where it looks like Mr. Trump's not going to be able to win, and you may hear from us that a vote for Trump is a wasted vote, so you better go with Johnson Weld.
All right, on that positive message, we will leave it there. Former Governor Gary Johnson and former Governor William Weld, thank you guys so much for being with us.
I appreciate you having us on. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.